in holidays, summer holidays, they would have some things to remember. कोई स्तोत्र, कोई श्लोक, कुछ ऐसा, and they would say कि memorize करो और सुनाओ. So at that time I wouldn't understand the significance कि भाई क्यों ऐसे memorize करें, मुझे तो संस्कृत आती नहीं है, कुछ नहीं आती. But there were 2-3 side effects of that. एक तो somehow my diction improved because of that. But the other important thing was once I had remembered it, I could recall it at any point in time. I don't need any text or anything, and then say कि ये क्या है, and that helped me understand the meaning later on, much later, when I became sort of. I mean, then I said, yeah, I know this stuff, but I don't know the meaning of this. So then I would sort of question what it means, and that was very helpful. So it's not only that I'm reciting at that time; it becomes you can recall it whenever you want, kind of a thing. Of course, that was from a different tradition, but which I thought is a, and I realized that that was a practice in every house. कि बच्चों को याद करा देते हैं.
In all other Buddhist countries,
there is a practice.
Meditation retreats. Recite. We somehow feel that talking is not good. So in the mornings, we have a 6 to 6:30 session where in our retreats where the chants. And people come and say कि हमको disturb कर रहे हो, साधना disturb हो रही है. There are many people who think like that. Many people who think that their meditation is getting disturbed by all these songs. You should not understand. So that's one perspective, especially in the long courses. And many foreigners keep on complaining.
In fact, just after the course, now I don't remember, his evening discourse, I wouldn't remember. I mean, it was एक बार कहा, but that thing used to get repeated every morning. That some of the sentences used to stay with me. So,
it's like, in our attempt to become quote unquote secular, that's why people feel very that kind of feeling which arises with devotion. The devotion element is totally missing. And then we try to explain devotion in a very abstract manner, which is correct, it's not wrong, but it's not satisfying. Human beings have emotions and they need to be taken care of.
But I know people who are attracted to Buddhism precisely because it is quote unquote secular.
That is the problem with modern youth. We don't realize what is secular and what is not. We have to distinguish between the two. Check. So let's get some time. So 5 verses, out of which 4 relate to one incident. So let's read them. The first one.
सदा जगारम
जगार आ है ना, एक के ऊपर बाहर लगा होगा आ,
जागर मन
मान
जागर मन
तो बाहर का बंद मत करो, कोई आना चाहे तो आ जाएगा। You have one more copy of it? Your copy है? नहीं, लैपटॉप में है तो सदा जागर मानानंद अहोरत्ता अनुशिखिनगम निपानं अधिमुत्तानं अतत्तानं गच्छन्ति अथावा। सदा जागर मानानंद, सदा जो जागृत रहते हैं, वॉचफुल रहते हैं। अहोरत्तान शिखिनम, अहोरत्ता मतलब दिन और रात, अनुशिखिनम मतलब ट्रेन करते रहते हैं, ट्रेनिंग अपने आप को सीखते रहते हैं। निब्बानं अधिमुत्तानं, अधिमुत्तानं मतलब जो इंक्लाइंड है, दे आर इंक्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स, चाहते हैं उस तरफ, अधिमोक्ष है उस तरफ ध्यान है, निर्वाण की तरफ। अथं गच्छन्ति आसव, उनके जो आसव है वो समाप्त हो जाते हैं, अर्थ को प्राप्त करते हैं तो समाप्त हो जाते हैं। So those who are always watchful and training day and night and intent upon reaching nirvana, their pains disappear. That is the meaning of this verse. And the story is associated with one young slave girl who used to work throughout day and night, and when she saw that some monks are also going in their rooms after listening to Dhamma, and she said that I am so, you also have to wake up late at night. Why are they waking up so late at night? So she didn't realize there could be any reason. So next day she made a rice cake for herself and thought she would go to a river to eat, and then found Buddha on the way and offered him the food. And then she must have asked the question. So Buddha told her why the monks were up so late. They are practicing mindfulness and being vigilant, irrespective of the time. And then he told her this verse. As it would, she attained the first insight. Next.
पुराणमेतम् अतुलमेतम् अज्जतनामिव निन्दन्ति तुंहिमासीनं निन्दन्ति बहुभाणिनं मितभाणिंपि निन्दन्ति नत्थि लोके अनिन्दितो। न चाहु न च भविष्यति न चेतरहि विज्जति एकन्तं निन्दितो कोसो एकन्तं वा प्रशंसितो यं चे विन्यूपसंसन्ति अनुविच्च सुभे सुभे अच्छिद्दवृत्तिं मेधावीं पञ्चाशील समाहितं निखं जम्बो न दस्येव ओतं निन्दितुमर्हति देवापि नं प्रशंसन्ति ब्रह्ममुनापि प्रशंसितो।
Meaning Puranam Etam Atulam. Atula is the name of the person. It says Puranam Etam Netam Ajjatanam Iva. पुरानी बात है ये, तो ये नई, it's not a new thing, it's not just it happened today. What is it? निंदन्ति तुहिम आसीनम, जो चुपचाप बैठते हैं उनको भी लेन दिया जाता है, उनकी भी निंदा की जाती है। निंदन्ति बहुभानिनम, जो बहुत बोलते हैं उनकी भी निंदा की जाती है। मितभानिनम निंदन्ति, जो कम बोलता है उसकी भी निंदा की जाती है। नत्थि लोके अनिन्दितो, इस संसार में कोई ऐसा नहीं है जिसकी निंदा नहीं। न चाहु न च भविष्यति न चेतरहि विद्यति, ना तो ये कभी हुआ है ना ही कभी ऐसा होने वाला है, ना ही ये इस समय सत्य है कि एकंतम निंदितो कोसो एकंतम वा प्रशंसितो। कोई ऐसा होगा जिसको सिर्फ निंदा होती हो या सिर्फ जिसकी प्रशंसा होती है, ऐसा कभी ना आज तक हुआ है ना भविष्य में होने वाला है, ना आज तक हो रहा है। यम च विन्यु प्रशंसन्ति अनुविच्चासु वैश्वी, वो यम जो विन्यु, जिस वो ऐसा आदमी जिसको विनय लोग, जिसको वाइज पीपल प्रेज करते हैं, अनुविच्चासु वैसे, हैविंग एग्जामिन्ड हिम thoroughly, मसरूली अच्छिद्द वृत्ति मेधावी, अच्छिद्द वृत्ति, छिद्द मतलब फॉल्स, अच्छिद्द मतलब फॉल्स नहीं है, छिद्र नहीं है, वो तीन मेधावी, उसको कंडक्ट भी है, अच्छा थॉटलेस कंडक्ट है और मेधावी में इंटेलिजेंट है। कन्याशीला समाहित, कन्याशील में कन्या और शील से समाहित है जिसके। दिखम जम्बोन दासाव दस्सैव ओतम निंदितुमर्हति। दिखम जम्बो, जम्बो ना दासाव, जम्बो कोई रिवर होती होगी उस समय में, जम्बू रिवर, इसके अंदर भी अच्छा तरह का सोना मिलता होगा। तो जम्बो न दासाव मीन्स स्पेशल काइंड ऑफ ए गोल्ड। दिखम में एक रिंग है इसकी, जिस तरह से एक ऑर्नामेंट हो जो स्पेशल गोल्ड क्लास का अच्छे सोने का बना हो। कोतम निंदित मरती, कौन ऐसा होगा जो उसको बुरा कहेगा। इन द फिगरेटिव सेंस इट मीन्स who is worthy enough to blame him, who is like a ring made of gold, special gold. देवापिनम प्रशंसन्ति, देवता भी उसकी प्रशंसा करते हैं। ब्रह्म नापि प्रशंसित, जो ब्रह्म लोक में रहने वाले हैं वो भी उसकी प्रशंसा करते हैं। So you must have guessed the story. It is about a man named Akula. He went with his friends to hear Dhamma. They first went to Venerable Ravata. He was practicing meditation, so he kept quiet. Then they went to Venerable Sariputta. They were disappointed, and then he expounded them Dhamma in great detail, telling them all the teachings, and they didn't understand much of it. So they went to Ananda. Still they were unhappy, and he explained them very briefly. Still they were unhappy. So they went to Buddha and told them and complained about all the three of them. And then Buddha speaks to them this verse, saying that these verses, saying that anybody will and everybody can be blamed.
वो पहले दो पढ़ के तो मुझे लगा कि आजकल की पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन पे कमेंट हो रहा है। कोई बहुत ज्यादा बोल रहा है, कोई बिल्कुल नहीं बोलता है, कोई थोड़ा बोलता है, और गाली सबको मिलती है, गाली सबकी हो रही है। आगे फिर बदल गया सर आजकल खूब।
Dhammapada generally is not that, addressed to a person. This is the first one that we see.
No, each, the kind of verses are addressed to a person, but not name is not brought in. That name of the person is not brought in. They are addressed to a particular situation. Here the name is good. Then we'll listen to mere enemies.
So start from this side.
You can just do a brief overview.
So I think we talked about two new enemies, which first was the purification of the mind versus spiritual personality. And we were discussing that the purification of mind is a noble thing, but it's pretty orthogonal to the kind of things that we believe turn out to be spiritual personality. We must attempt to do purify our mind, but we should not misinterpret it with liberation extrapolated back. And I think we, in the spiritual personality, we get stuck up in the same way as we get stuck up in the materialistic personality, with the sense of lack taking over and trying to say that I'm lacking something and I need to purify and get it. And then in some cases it becomes a spiritual ego also. And not taking it spiritually means that we should abide in awareness more often than identifying with whatever personality is arising at that moment. Then we talked about letting go in the moment versus letting go as a strategy. In letting go as a strategy, it becomes a story of the mind itself, where it says that letting go is better in this moment because that is less disturbing and less painful, and this is a near enemy, but actual letting go should happen in the now, in the grasping or the mental twisting that is happening in the mind. and we should be letting go of the identification with the same mental story that we're talking about, rather than story in the mind where we say that, if we let this is spiritual letting go. We take it as a as an excuse for saying that this is a spiritual response to a situation rather than letting go. So then we come to third one, which is tools to remind ourselves of here and now versus techniques of enlightenment. Um, could be controversial also. So tools. Sudhakar, can you hear it now? Yeah. So I, I think they are all good tools and kushal upayas to help and give us benefit in different uh, segments, in different parts of our life. They definitely help us in sharpening our faculty of cognition. I believe I've gained a lot in the camps to really sharpen the faculty where you can feel a lot more than you would have generally feel otherwise in the life. I, I never felt sensations in my body. So, just cognizing what is happening inside you at both physical and mental level is a great skill, and it's but I would say that and they would loosen up. This is the question. What is Buddha? Yeah, so Buddha is a technique by followed by some of the forest monks of Thailand in the tradition of Ajahn and other monasteries, where they I think they recite Buddha on inhalation and Dro on exhalation. It's a technique to concentrate. Yes, you're right. But they also have this view behind Buddha where they say that uh, when you are reciting Buddha, you have to view it like Buddha is watching Dhamma rather than you trying to be an observer of something that you are observing. So that is a connotation or a view attached to why you should use a word to try and concentrate. These techniques definitely loosen up our tendencies to remain unaware or lost for long periods. I have found these techniques help us what I generally call reminding ourselves in the day when we are lost or we get reminders. Uh, and very importantly, they are definite, critical to the times when your mind is turbulent and you can't see clearly, and uh, you have to use an external force to bring the calm to the mind. Uh, because a calm mind can see through better, but generally a turbulent mind is in many cases, especially in many cases with me, I found that if you try to use some of the ideas that you have about just being there, it becomes very difficult. It becomes very painful, and you get because the turbulence in the mind. And at those times, these really help to bring calm back in the mind, both during the meditation and in the life also. So what's the enemy for this? The enemy for this is that we turn these into techniques for enlightenment. We try to see that once, if you become an expert in the meditation techniques, slowly and slowly you will get enlightenment. So acquiring skill in this technique is a progress towards enlightenment. And path to enlightenment is measured in cushion hours. So, how many hours you sit, you have progressed that much. In some cases, we also close our mind to other techniques, and we say that if you do that, it will dissipate your energy and reduce your speed to enlightenment, because we have strong belief that these are actually the techniques for enlightenment. We should not be doing anything else other than this. And many of these techniques, as I said, will bring calm and tranquil states, and we try to interpret them as milestones on the path of enlightenment. And I think another thing that I felt that there is a major enemy is that the whole Dhamma and its significance gets reduced to cushion time. You treat the cushion time as a ritual. You go and the only effort in life that you make is to sit for 2 hours, and then you feel that is the way to follow Dhamma, or to go for different camps, and that is the only way to follow Dhamma. And Dhamma gets reduced to these periods only, when you are doing sitting meditation or when you are in camp. And as soon as you come out of it, your life is almost as it was earlier, other than the fact that you have maybe you get more reminders, you get more conscious of the fact that whenever you are lost. And definitely this brings calmness and some bit of clarity into viewing what the states of mind are. But we reduce the Dhamma to just these periods. So that's what the near enemy of this is, according to me. So the next is the way it is versus justifying the way it is. And we've read, we talk about the way it is a lot in Jaisa Hai Vaisa Hai, with that also, and Ramsud also talks a lot about the way it is. Actually, the full book about the way it is. And when I started to think about it and how I sometimes have misinterpreted this and what's the enemy, I found out that most of the times our attention or our mental energy is focused on how it should be. If we see a moment, immediately we turn our energy into what it should have been. And I found how much ingrained or how much absorbed we are in every moment in thinking about how this should have been different, how the moment that is in could have been something else. How could I have done this, or how could the other person have done that? It's always this this grasping of how it should be. What should I do next to change it? Then just to give enough attention to the way it is. Because I think we use this thing. Word is not there, but that's the way it is. So, we would always find things where which should not be, in the way they are, but that's the reality. That's the only reality that is in front of us. And very importantly, there is only one reality at now. And interestingly, when I was looking at it, just even intellectually looking at it, if there is only one reality, choosing to be upset about it is obviously foolish. Why? Because and we always counter argument this with saying that if you don't be upset about it, and if there is something wrong in that, how would you go and change it? Or do you just take the way it is and just don't do anything about it? But I think the action to change what is there, status quo, comes from the understanding of the way it is rather than being upset about it. So when I was thinking about it, I said how easy it is for us to tell this last thing to others than to tell ourselves. Whenever somebody is in some problem or in some difficult situation, we say, yes, that's the way it is, right? All you have to do is don't be upset about it, but do this next action. Right? So when you are looking at this objectively, you will say, you will always tell somebody else that don't take stress on this. You will not benefit by taking stress on this. This is the next thing that you should be doing, and it's so clear to you what the other person should be doing the next moment. But it's also clear to you that the other person is useless or to take stress for the situation they are in. The only thing they should be doing is take this next action. But it's so difficult to tell it to us that this is the only reality, and choosing to be upset about is foolish. If you understand what the reality is, the next action that you should be doing will come naturally to you, and not as a byproduct of being upset about the reality. And this is something that we, at least I have found that we miss a lot of times. But the near enemy of this is we make way it is as a strategy. We try to justify the way it is. When we can't handle a situation, we try to justify it. We say that when we say sometimes the way it is, actually we are trying to bear it. We're trying to say that I can't do much about this, I can't change this, so it's better to bear it and say that this is the way it is. And that's also a way of avoiding some self-limitation. If you have a fear about something, or you have anxiety, for some of us, especially for me, procrastination, or if you procrastinate something, you say, okay, that's the way I am. Right? So you don't see that how this happened, and how the moment when you were procrastinating, what was you feeling about, but we cover it by saying the way it is. And we use it, and this is also interesting that we use, because this is a strategy, we use it for our advantage. We only use it when the pain increases to a certain threshold. So you would say that whenever it's difficult to handle, suddenly the mind will start to say, oh, this is the way it is, and that's okay. But when it is easy to handle, or when you inherently want to handle something, you say, यार कर्म भी तो करना ही है, कुछ काम भी तो करना ही है. So you use this very selectively. Sometimes when you are acting, you say, no, this is very important. The Dhamma tells us to act, and अपना कर्म छोड़ना छोड़ देने हैं, घर के काम भी सब करने हैं, सब कुछ करना है. But as soon as the situation becomes very difficult to handle, you try to say, यार that's the way it is. So you opportunistically choose it as a strategy, then looking at the moment and say that's the only moment available, and whatever is the next best thing, let me do that, rather than being identifying with the current moment. So the next one is realizing Dhamma versus learning Dhamma. This is also something that is I found a lot in me because I like to read a lot and study. Akhilesh is smiling.
You said this is one of the, I only do that.
So, and then when I was thinking about it and what are the different phases that I've seen in me, I found that, especially during the time when I was doing the self-course and how I was just trying to integrate life with that, that Dhamma is the panya or wisdom or the view with which we look at the world in each moment of life. It's also, the byproduct of it is also a reminder when you are flowing in a conditioned response, unaware of it. It's seeing the personality and story in the now, in that moment. So, in presence, as Eckhart Tolle says, if you see the personality and story, and that happens by relaxing in that. This is mental relaxation and just trying to see the current moment. And it's also let go of the self-control, the self. I don't know any other word, but the feeling that sense of self is in control and it will decide what to do next. It's just letting go of that, and a natural response come to you of the current situation. It's very very similar to what we've heard about Sahaj tarike se jeena, Sahaj tarike se jeena. What actually happens is that the sense of self does not allow us to do that. So we have to get out of our way of the Sahaj living. And in linear energy, generally in learning Dhamma, I would say that studying Dhamma is a noble thing. I've benefited a lot, and I think you're all doing that. It's not saying that we should not be doing it. Why? Because it provides the intellectual clarity on concepts which are still not realized. Because I personally believe the things that you realize, you live them, you are them, you become one with them. But things which you have not realized, the only way to get an access to them is through some intellectual understanding of them. So it provides the intellectual clarity on the concepts that we have not realized. So, and it inspires us to investigate and contemplate. So this is definitely good, but it can soon turn into an intellectual exercise to keep satisfying the curiosity. We become curious about a lot of metaphysical concepts, and we try to conceptualize them or understand them through our intellect, and then we try to argue them, and it's all becomes a intellectual exercise. There are so many metaphysical concepts in different traditions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and then we try to feed our mind with that, and mind loves that, especially some minds, including mine. And it's also, I found that this is also a pillar of time. I found that it to be very similar to the pillar that we use in the materialistic world as TV, or whenever you don't want to look at the current moment, when you don't want to look at yourself, where you don't want to be, just be. You say, let me do something. In the materialistic world, you say, switch on the TV, do something. When you have a lot of information, so they say, let me pick up this book and do this. So it can turn into this habit also, and in some cases it can become an ego ride to showcase the spiritual understanding of the world, that we understand these spiritual stuff, and in the discussion you seem very intellectual, and you understand different aspects of the spirituality, and you can tell people what to do.
This study Dharma also help. One of the other problem is it sets up ideals. You read something, you say ऐसा होना चाहिए, because किताब में लिखा है. So that's also, it also helps to set up ideals, and then the other problems that you are highlighted come because of this also. किसी को बोल दिया कि वो ये करते रहो, वो ज़्यादा नहीं सोचे, और ज़्यादा नहीं सोचे मतलब इंटेलेक्चुअली ना सोचे, ऐसा ही कॉन्टेम्पलेट ना करे ऑन मोमेंट उस तरह से, तो maybe it is easier, I don't know, but the people who have intellectual curiosity, so there are people who I find discussing कि ये 4 stages of enlightenment में क्या होता है, कहाँ पहुँचने क्या चाहिए, जहाँ से वापस नहीं आता, which is good to know, but so that's like instead of an idea. Especially on the 10th day of the retreat.
The retreat is actually a very good case study for looking at all the spiritual enemies. How people start to completely ऐसा नहीं है, सब में साथ नहीं होता. A lot of people I see very calm and very peaceful.
I know, but when it happens, I was like new thing I'm learning how men feel, but women का होता है कि they kind of an explosion होता है, there's so much pent up, in their life ये हो रहा है, and बड़ा अच्छा लगा इधर आके, घर जाएंगे तो like this thing, and so much more personal. I think the experience is that way for gender.
I found that some people were not related to all this. There were some IAS preparation people who were preparing for IAS, and they came to the camp. I don't know why.
So these people come because somebody tells them, or they just
come in IIT. Even much before the center was found, that we used to meditate in that small hut. So from nearby GSRI, there is a academy. So they used to, some of them had matters and discussed, and there were some problems, so we advised them to do, and they used to work them. It so happened that they cleared the exam, and like they were originally not expecting at all to do so. That became that became a means to clear the.
But they are very focused people. On 10th day, they started discussing history of Buddha and all that in terms of answers of the history paper of IIS. That's what seriously. Exactly, that's what they were doing. I was standing there, thinking, ये हुआ, अच्छा, this is amazing.
Maybe that is also subject to this history.
Plus, I think they always have this keen desire to get the general knowledge, because preparation for the interview. So I think the next one, when talking about it, this is I actually was contemplating and thinking about this a lot, and got a lot of insights from advanced middle lectures and cognition, which is looking at these two things in the perspective is cessation of suffering and solving suffering. And so I think let's look at the how I have approached, or generally approached it most commonly. We all started by trying to solve or get rid of suffering, and so did Buddha. He also said that, let me, this is so much of suffering, is there a way out of it? It's a very primordial instinct, and we get attracted to happiness and move away from suffering. It's so intrinsic, it's so inbuilt into us. We do this all the time in our life, and which I really call trying to optimize circumstances in life, which are actually a response to this primary way of living, which is getting attracted towards happiness and move away from suffering. And when we try to optimize life, we conclude that if we do this, it will give more happiness to us than not doing it or doing something else. And that's how we continue to try and optimize it. But we also realize that after some time that it's an endless cycle. The way we are approaching to trying to optimize suffering is not helping. It's not really taking us out. I think he's saying on the same discussion, there's a Coursera course on Psycho Buddhism 001.
What's that?
Sudhakar has sent a link. So you think read to my second bullet in this page, in this slide. Okay. Okay. So he is saying that maybe I think when I come to the second bullet, but I found that unfortunately suffering. The first noble truth of Buddha says that there is suffering. We have to see it from the perspective that it is there by design. And Ajahn Sumedho says this in different ways multiple times. For example, he says if there was a question and somebody asked that there was a noble guy, a very holy person, never did anything wrong, this and that, and he got cancer and he suffered a lot, and then he died a very painful death. Why did this happen? Why did he suffer? He was such a noble person. And he answered in a very beautiful way because he suffered because he was born. Right? Because if you're born and this body by design is going to deteriorate and age, and by design is going to get illness. This is by design. In this realm, he uses this word, in this realm there is suffering. It's by design. The sensory world is unsatisfactory by nature, and you cannot get happiness in this way of living. Materialistic tricks cannot solve suffering, nor can spiritual tricks. So we try to replace the materialistic tricks by spiritualistic tricks, and try to find try to solve suffering by using different strategies. In materialistic tricks, we say that if I get this car or this wealth, I'll be happier. In spiritualistic, say if I reach this stage or that stage, I'll be much more happier. If we don't see that, and we just try to replace that. And I found that, because especially in Buddhism and spirituality, we focus a lot on suffering, and our cognition power also increases because of the special upaya's and techniques that we use. It sometimes makes us a lot more sensitive and averse to suffering, because you get to know your suffering a lot more often. So you get reminded, right? For people who are suffering, they may suffer and continuously be unmindful of that and continuously suffer. But sometimes because of your practice, you get reminded more often, and you become a lot more sensitive towards suffering. And because we have not pulled the rug below from it, we still want to solve it. So it means that we become averse to it. So you get reminded more often, even for small turbulences in the mind, you get reminded, and then this cycle increases where the more you get exposed to it, the more you become averse to it, and then we try to use our spiritual knowledge to solve, avoid, or eliminate suffering. And I think diverting the mind away from suffering uh, and focusing on a holy object is not significantly better than diverting your mind away to a sensory object, except that in rare cases it could be harmful also. You could start to indulge in something, or you could start to harm your day-to-day life by watching too much TV, or taking different kinds of elements or whatever. It can be harmful, definitely harmful, but you know what diverting your mind away or focusing on a holy object is also a diversion. It's running away from suffering. So finding better ways of moving away from suffering becomes our spiritual goal of life. What's better than this? How can I become expert in this? How can I do it to the perfection that as soon as I recognize that there's suffering in me, and I completely move away and be more peaceful and calm. But suffering cannot be solved. It only ceases to be personal. It remains there but ceases to be personal. Which I believe by definition is the cessation of suffering. Because the way we look at it, all suffering are personal. So that is what I believe is from my understanding, is the cessation of suffering. So suffering and the personality's urge to move away from it are two ends of the same street. I think we were listening to. Hello. Hello.
Modern psychology.
Buddhism and modern psychology.
I thought this is a wrong program. If I'm not able to get what you are trying to say.
In this last one,
Whatever today you have spoken.
हर एक में अलग-अलग था, but which one do you have question?
First one was so तुम कह रहे हो कि the way mind tries to solve suffering or remove suffering is not the right way.
The way we look at suffering is not the right way. How we perceive it. If we perceive it as I am suffering and I need to do something, right? Or if you perceive it as it will be there. First you start with the attitude, it will be there. If you're born, if you have this body, if you have this mental makeup, if you have these conditioning, it will be there. So that attitude allows it to be there.
Suffering is like this.
Right. Suffering is like this. The way I look at that statement is that you kind of disidentified suffering and say suffering is like this. But you don't say I am suffering and I need to.
So actually the biggest attachment is the sense of I, right? And with the sense of I comes this I am suffering. Okay, and the sense of it hasn't gone away. Okay.
अगर ये चला जाता तो हम सब लोग डिस्कस करते हो because I think something.
So we have this sense of I, and the sense of I.
So it was just one thing. I heard it only this morning or yesterday night. Listening to something. I mentioned about Thoreau. You heard about Thoreau?
Yeah.
And very David Thoreau. He was not a very distinguished person who died very young and lived in a kind of a secluded life. So when he was dying, he had a tuberculosis. Some of ठीक नहीं होता होगा. One of his friends used to visit him, and then he wrote his memoir. He used to seem to me as comfortable with the illness as with his life. He was suffering a lot, but he seemed to be pretty comfortable. He never mentioned that I am ill or not ill, or I am dying or not dying. He would continue to behave in exactly the same way as he would behave when he was not diagnosed to be ill. So that is the real cessation of suffering. The ख्याल आया कि that may be a good example.
This is the only thing I am saying is that we have the sense of I, which is very powerful, and this also gives a sense that I am suffering. Okay. So because of that, one tries all the things to see how I can reduce this suffering or remove this suffering. And negating that I am not suffering.
It's not I am not suffering.
Doesn't help.
तभी एक आई है.
There is suffering.
There is.
Nobody can deny that. And I am taking it personally. This is an experience. वो लगता है ना वही तो सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत तो वही है सबसे बड़ी जो illusion है
सोचिए किसी को मैं मतलब पीड़ा हो रही है
सोचना नहीं है
ये पर अनुभव तो शरीर तरह महसूस तो हो रहा है ना
हाँ
मतलब ऐसा तो नहीं कि आपको
अगर दुख हो रहा है तो वो भी जान लिया दुख हो रहा है
नहीं पता
रिस्पॉन्स हो
किसी का ऐसे नहीं दुख होता है शरीर कष्ट में होता है वो नहीं सहन कर पाता इस स्थिति में ये नहीं मतलब आप इतने पहुंचे हो कि आपको
वो पहुंचने की बात हो रही है हम उतना पहुंच जाए
अभी उन्होंने भी कहा
यही कोशिश हो रही है
सफरिंग की मतलब whenever you reach I am suffering literally like that.
That is the conventional truth है conventionally that is true कोई आपसे पूछने आए तो आप ये कहें हाँ बीमार हूँ मैं बीमार हूँ बीमारी है तो नहीं कहेगा मैं बीमार ठीक है बट दैट इज द कन्वेंशनल ट्रूथ वो जो सारी हमारी डिस्कशन इस पर समझ चल रहा है इसी प्रश्न के ऊपर ही आसपास ही घूम रहे हैं how do we see through this illusion of I? That is the key factor. And unless we see through that, we'll obviously take it personally.
Nobody is born with this.
It's not a question of born, it's a question of training.
When you are born, you don't get training right from the beginning also.
That's all right. हम लोग कौन सा साधना बचपन से करते हैं 6 साल की उम्र में शुरू की बट बचपन में तो आ ही रहेगा ही और होना ही चाहिए नहीं तो आगे बढ़ ही नहीं पाएगा वो सुखदेव वाली बात हो जाएगी कि आजा हुआ चल दिया तो वहाँ के भी क्या हुआ पता है कि ये सब मिथ्या में जा रहा so that is a very rare specimen but the whole idea of nature of experience of suffering is that we should investigate it. Buddha investigated it. He didn't say I want to get out of it or I want to overcome it. मुझे पता तो चले हो क्या रहा है. What is the cause? What is the root of the suffering? So that is the real investigation. And then we can really see gradually, yes, the root causes. पहले तो यही समझ में आता है भाई फिर कोई अच्छा लगता है मैं कोई बुरा लगता है, ये अच्छा लगता है इससे वियोग हो रहा है तो दुख हो रहा है, ये बुरा लगता है ये बार बार आ रहा है तो दुख हो रहा है. फिर जब उसको और गहराई से समझते हैं कि मैं इच्छा ही करता हूँ, इच्छा ही दुख करती है, इच्छा ना ही करूँ तो दुख नहीं होगा. समझ आई इच्छा हो क्यों रही है, मुझे अपने शरीर और मन से आजाद में हो गया. आई टेक इट टू बी मी body, I take it to be me while it is not me, it is born out of conditions. The mind is changing out the moment out of conditions. Conditions के साथ बदलता रहता है. जो चीज़ इतनी नश्वर है, इतना बदल रही है, उसको मैं अपना समझूंगा तो then you begin to understand. So जो साधना है वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप करने के लिए. हमने साधना को अनुभव के लिए बना दिया, कुछ अनुभव हो जाए उसमें दिक्कत. अनुभव हमारे साधना का जो अनुभव है वो हमारे समझ में कन्वर्ट होना चाहिए. कौन अनुभव कर रहा है, बार बार उस पर अगर हम रिफ्लेक्ट करेंगे तो पता चलेगा है कोई नहीं, पता नहीं चलता कौन है, ये नहीं पता चलता कौन है यार, ये नहीं पता चलता. चल ठीक है, यू विल रिमेन, यू हैव टू बी यू नो डेडली ऑनेस्ट कि नहीं पता चल रहा तो नहीं पता चल रहा, क्या करूँ मैं. देन यू इनसाइट कम रहा है कुछ नहीं. So we go by stages, definitely. Even in this, we go by stages. Yeah. We accept that there is suffering. There is. I mean, एक वो मैंने जान सुने तो मैं जान ब्रह्म का डिस्कोर्स एक सुन रहा था बहुत समय पहले. तो कहते हैं वही सफरिंग का क्या करें, कोई तरीका नहीं से. At the end, I discovered that this realm is full of suffering, and that is freedom. Once you understand that this realm in which we are living is of this nature and it will cause suffering, physical, mental, then you are at peace with it. You don't then, because suffering is arising because of Krishna. You want it to be other way around. Or you can see you are not accepting the reality. That is Krishna. So Krishna का मूल है कि you start accepting the reality. ऐसी है. Then there is the element of physical pain will be there. Buddha also felt ill, had pain, but he didn't take it. Allow it to become, afflict the mind. And remain in a state of peace all the time. This cessation. Not that the pain will end. We generally tend to think in that sense. Cessation doesn't mean to कैंसर ठीक हो जाए, तो समझने के लिए ऐसा मुझे लगता है.
लेकिन कई लोग मुझे ठीक है सुखा रहा है दुखा रहा है ठीक है चल रहा लाइफ है,
ठीक है बहुत अच्छी बात है. बेटे हैप्पी है, हमें कहा कि उनके पीछे पड़ रहे हैं, हम तो अपने पीछे पड़े हुए हैं.
नहीं हर व्यक्ति को भी कोशिश करता है कि मैं दुखी हूँ तो
ना करें.
हम कहते हैं अभी ये पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ है चल रहा है,
हमें उससे क्या करना है. हमें परेशानी है ना, हमें परेशानी हो रही है, हम अपनी परेशानी सॉल्व कर रहे हैं. उस प्रोसेस में लोगों की परेशानी सॉल्व हो जाती है. उस प्रोसेस में हमारे कारण जो परेशान हो रहे थे वो कम परेशान हो जाते हैं, है ना. तो वही बात है. आगे देखिए हमने कौन सा ठेका लिया है, इस साल हमने बोधी चित्ता नहीं जगाया, जब जाएगा तब देख लेंगे. अभी तो हम बिल्कुल सेल्फिश हैं.
राइट पे राइट नाउ नहीं आ रहा.
हाँ, वन थिंग
वो कम हो जाता है. अगर
हमारे कारण बहुत दुखी हैं लोग, उसको हाँ जी सॉरी आपकी बात मुझे काट दी, थोड़ों में काट दी पीछे.
So only thing I was saying was that so mind reacts certain way when suffering happens, and that is for conditioning. And so rather than denying it, it should not act this way or should act some other way, so we just let what mind or my personality is doing, but just see additionally that what it's doing. Because so I just got from that when we get suffering and we try to reason it out and we try to solve it. That is a near enemy, but that is the way we are naturally do. And you can't escape it, and you try to escape it, that also becomes the power.
The way I approached it was we all start with that. मतलब हम सब जब discussion कर रहे हैं इसका starting नहीं है. You want to reason it out, right? But while reasoning it out, if you look at it deeply, you will find out that the point I was saying was that the suffering and our urge to move away from it, they are actually same organism. Right? If you see that, right, and you say, let me allow it to be there, let's see what happens. Let me not try to run away from it. Let me just observe it of, yes, I am suffering. And then you see that it completely changes, and then you will see that, yeah, it means my tendency to move away from it was actually part of it. Right. So, as I said in the last bullet point, that effort is any. मतलब हम लोग, there is no effort required, but हम लोग कहते हैं क्या करें suffering है तो effort is any. अगर कुछ भी करनी है, should be to move towards suffering with the motivation to understand it, then eliminate it.
And actually that also becomes the slippery slope.
All these things in this realm have slippery slopes and near enemies. You have to investigate at that moment कि क्या मैं जो कर रहा हूँ उसकी क्या slippery slope है. अगर आपको वो समझ में आ जाती है तो आप नहीं करोगे. जब तक हम पूरा realization नहीं करेंगे, हर चीज की एक slippery slope तो होगी. If you are open to understanding कि अब मैं जो कर रहा हूँ उसकी क्या slippery slope है, and then we investigate in that moment.
So what I am saying is that rather than trying to say that I have to see my suffering or I have to go through my suffering, you just let your personality to behave the way it's bound to behave, and just have a sense of what you are doing.
Absolutely, that is exactly the thing. But when you said that,
But not take it personally.
But sense of I तो personally ले रहा है, and you are seeing.
Then you will suffer. कोई तरीका नहीं है. You understand. You cannot be fully dumb. It's not possible. कोई भी नहीं होगी.
नहीं. So
देखिए क्या हो रहा है? I am suffering at the moment, and I am responding to it by बहुत गुस्सा आ रहा है. Now अगर मैं कहूँगा कि मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है, ये मेरी personality है तो आने दो, है ना? Then उसको गुस्सा बढ़ता जाएगा और मैं जाऊँगा पिस्टल करूँगी. But if I see गुस्सा जो है conditioned response है यार, मेरी conditioning ऐसी है, उसके लिए मुझे pause करना पड़ेगा, understand करना पड़ेगा मेरा गुस्सा क्यों आ रहा है भाई. At some level we have to stop and question. At some level, it's not saying कि दुख हो रहा है उसी लेवल पे स्टॉप करो, रिस्पॉन्स हो रहा है तो स्टॉप करो. आपने गाली दे दी तो वो कहीं तो स्टॉप करेंगे आप, कहीं आपको स्टॉप करके इन्वेस्टिगेट करना पड़ेगा. अदरवाइज यू ट्राई टू सॉल्व इट दिस वे. देखता हूँ ये तो मेरा जूनियर है ना, इसको अभी इसकी सीआर खत्म करता हूँ.
But sir, I've seen कि वो investigation itself becomes the way you try to justify and argue.
That is our foolishness. It's not foolishness if I do that. I have to be truthful. I can't deceive myself.
And we talk about
when we said that you see that the way you were doing it was justifying it. That itself is a scene. That last moment जो तुमने किया justify किया. एक मोमेंट तो justify किया, अगले मोमेंट को देख लिया कि मैं justify कर रहा था. बढ़िया.
कहीं ना कहीं तो रोक लगानी पड़ेगी उस प्रोसेस.
उस मोमेंट तो लिखा कि यार ये तो पिछला मोमेंट जो था मैं अपने आप को फूल कर रहा था.
उस बात को लेके दुखी होने लगेंगे कि मैंने जस्टिफाई किया.
एंड
तो फिर उसको भी जान लिया, देखो मैं आपकी पास्ट की बात पे दुखी हो रहा हूँ.
जस्टिफाई करना, अपने आप को फुलिश देखना, इट्स पार्ट ऑफ दिस वेल. ये होगा ही होगा. we will justify ourselves. We will become foolish and next moment realize that we were foolish.
In fact, if we realize that that is the part of the practice, right? That's what the training is. We will train ourselves into this. Yes, it's अपने आप नहीं आने वाला है. हमको बार बार अभ्यास करना पड़ेगा.
Sorry, you were saying something. I cut you off.
Sir, आपने वो conditioning की बात mention की थी that you know you examine it via conditioning that whatever it was in past life also that so that series you know I've arrived to where I am my anger. So when we're examining our conditioning, are we also enhancing the sense of I also, because again we are saying that my father, my mother, my son, my everything. So
You're not examining it in
or
that
I don't know how to examine.
Examination should be done as impersonally as possible.
So like
I find that by hearing certain words, I get upset. But I also realize that on hearing the same words, somebody else is not getting upset. So then I investigate. What is the reason? Is this something wrong with the words or something wrong with me? My perception, my evaluation. So that I have got certain way of evaluating. I have got certain way of thinking. There is some sanya I have, so-called mind. But then we investigate further. See, mera kya hai? What is this perception when you say, because I have been exposed to so many things, I have developed a perception of this kind. And that this perception keeps on changing in that particular manner.
Sir, I have to leave.
You want to go?
Yes. I think best people will continue the discussion and discussion. Back to somebody else.
Okay. Thank you. Is it over or next time?
It's over.
Huh?
It's over.
So what do we do next time?
Please sit down.
Okay, presentation is over. Okay, we'll do that. Okay.
एक बार मेल के थ्रू कहा था कि मैं कुछ प्रेजेंट करूँगा.
No, see, okay.
नहीं आपको इससे कहा था कि I
Ah,
should do
yeah,
something.
you should.
So अभी again sir I will not be there for 2 weeks. Next time I will be there. उसके बाद वो एक हफ्ते में 2 दिन छुट्टी है. So I will go to Pune for 7-8 days. So मैं वहाँ से वापस आके I am also making a petition, but not really. That also I am working on. First floor चल रहा है वो काम ये I have been asked to do something.
हाँ, आपकी